For today's Business Matters, we have Don Ma here with us. Don, good to see you. What's happening in the world of business, sir?
All right, let me get started. Good to see you as well, you guys. So starting with flights, apparently scheduled to head through Iranian airspace were diverted overnight after Iran launched missiles into Israel yesterday. Israel's neighbors closed airspace and airline crews changed flight plans. A spokesperson for tracking service Flight Radar 24 said flights were anywhere, they went anywhere they could. And computer screens showed that regional flight traffic diverting to the north and south of Iran. Many converged on Cairo and Istanbul. Now, hiring in the U.S. private sector jumped more than expected last month. And that's according to new data released today by payroll processor ADP. Private sector employment gains exceeded economists' expectations with an estimated 143,000 jobs added in September. It also marked a rebound from the month prior when 103,000 jobs were added. The gains were widespread across major industries. Only the tech-heavy information sector posted losses. And this comes as job growth has slowed substantially during the past year. The Federal Reserve is closely scrutinizing employment data to ensure the labor market isn't weakening too much. And in Michigan, the minimum wage is set to rise by 20%. Officials said it will go up to $12.48 per hour by the end of February. And this is the result of a state Supreme Court decision in August that reinstated changes to minimum wage laws that were rolled back earlier. According to the Michigan Department of Labor, the figure is set to rise every year, nearing $15 an hour by February 2028. Now, the Bank of England is warning that global asset prices, especially stocks, are vulnerable to a big fall. In a quarterly statement, the bank said that markets remain susceptible to a sharp correction, and this follows a market sell-off in August, which only reversed after stronger macroeconomic data was published. The bank said that investors should not count on a boost like this again. The central bank also noted that higher public debt across major economies could trigger financial stability risks, and that's if investors took a gloomier view of government borrowing. Now, the impact of a dock workers' strike at U.S. East Coast and Gulf Coast ports is just starting. Analysts expect European car makers to be the ones most affected because they rely heavily on those ports. The European Union is already at the center of an EV trade war with China. Brussels actually appears to have enough votes to move forward with increasing tariffs on Chinese-made EVs. Now, back in the U.S., imports, a shortage of car deliveries is one thing, but experts warn the strike could be debilitating to the entire industry. One concern is the impact on auto parts. One analyst estimates that 70% of auto parts come in through the affected ports. At the same time, the EU Commission has requested algorithm information from social media giants. The Commission wants YouTube, Snapchat, and TikTok to share parameters used by their algorithms to recommend content. It also wants to know how the companies are addressing systemic risks like protecting minors, mental health, and the electoral process. The requests have been made under the EU's Landmark Digital Services Act. The EU has been using the new law to moderate content and govern policies at social media companies. Now, a new CEO will be lacing up to take over at Nike. The sneaker giant has withdrawn its annual revenue forecast as it prepares for a new leader. In response, the sportswear company's stock sank about 5% today. Nike announced that CEO John Donahoe will step down this month. Taking his place is Elliott Hill. This is on top of Nike reporting mixed results for its fiscal first quarter. The company beat earning expectations but missed on revenue. Critics charge that the shoe giant was too focused on selling direct to consumers and dragged in innovation. Nike also postponed its Investors' Day, which was set for late November. And the big port strike enters day 2 with no sign of progress in negotiations. We take a deeper look at how the strike could affect you.
Thousands of dock workers enter day 2 of their massive strike, shutting down 14 major U.S. ports, leaving many at a standstill.
It starts to last longer than 1 week. We're going to start to see serious, I would say quite serious problems in supply chain.
Maritime business professor Jean-Paul Rodri says consumers may not notice anything in the first week, but things will get more expensive and scarcer very quickly. Harold Daggett, president of the International Longshoremen's Association, has indicated that union workers are willing to strike for a very long time.
In today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you.
The effects of the strike reaching even the president.
We're hearing from the folks regionally that they're having trouble getting the product they need because of the port strike. Look, they just sit down and talk. Because remember, we negotiated a similar strike on the West Coast before, and they worked it out. It's time, they won't even talk, so let's get that done.
Major imports that will be disrupted: retail goods, lumber, electronics, furniture, and food.
Or 98% of all the coffee coming in this country comes in containers. So we may start to see problems there. Also, tropical fruits, everything which is cold chain related is going to quickly be disrupted. And consumers at a grocery store, on the store shelves, or even buying stuff online are going to start to notice.
The strike could cost billions per day, but economist Robert Wright says the overall effect won't be significant.
I don't see a huge impact on GDP, just a delay, because goods that normally would have been sold in October will now be sold in November or December.
Wright says supply chains will have to adjust, and consumers will wait a while before buying what they normally buy.
Over in Europe, France is one of the countries backing tariffs on Chinese electric vehicle imports. French President Emmanuel Macron said today that he supports the European Commission increasing tariffs up to 45% on imports on Chinese EVs, which are made in China. Macron said that in his speech that Europe must defend its industries against competition from abroad. The vote is on Friday, and sources told Reuters that France, Greece, Italy, and Poland all plan to vote in favor, and this would be enough to push the measure through. A German spokesperson said that country's government is still debating on how it's going to vote. And drivers changing lanes on car preferences and navigating around costs. Ford is the latest U.S. automaker to report weaker growth in domestic new vehicle sales in the third quarter. It joined Toyota, General Motors, and Chrysler parent Stellantis, who all shared a drop in sales. Some cited affordability concerns and fewer selling days. Consumers have shifted to more affordable subcompact crossovers and pickup trucks instead of larger luxury models. Top car maker and EV leader Tesla did report an increase in sales for the first time this year, but its sales still trailed the same period last year. Tesla is also facing increased competition from legacy automakers offering more EV models. All right, quickly onto markets here today. All green, down on Wall Street. S&P 500 here, as you can see, up about 0.8 points, and then it's up about just 0.1%, basically unchanged here. And now looking at the Dow here, up 39 points, about 0.1%, and of course NASDAQ also up here, 14 points, and then just about 0.08%. And with that, all the major things happening in the business and financial world today. Back to you guys. Carrie, Fiona.
Thanks so much, Don. Fiona, anything catch your eye in today's headlines?
Yeah, I mean, that strike with the dock workers, I mean, as a consumer myself, I am concerned, how this is going to trickle down and impact me when I'm out doing my weekly grocery shopping and whatnot.
Today earlier on my show with Stefania, we were talking about this exact same topic with the guest, and he says it's not just about how long this strike drags on. It's about getting back to normal, because you're not just flipping a switch and everything goes back to normal, right? Because all this, it takes time. For every day that the strike goes on, it takes multiple days when the strike ends to go back to how things were.
Yes, indeed. We heard President Biden say that we're dealing with one natural disaster and one man-made disaster, which could certainly have its implications. So thanks so much, Don. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
All right. See you.
Thank you, Don.